Did you know that most communication is nonverbal? Of course, we know that because we've been told that all of our lives. But what does that nonverbal communication have to do with sales and increasing your sales? Well, it is a powerful tool in the world of sales because it can actually make or break a deal. And understanding the importance of how to use body language and nonverbal communication successfully is imperative for successful salespeople. Hey, it's Tom Jacobs here. I love empowering solopreneurs and solo practitioners to expand their business through selling with heart. My passion lies in the art and science of sales, and it's especially interesting when it comes to body language and nonverbal communication. Today, I'm going to give you practical how to's on increasing your body language and nonverbal communication skills so that you are more effective in your communication and you're making more sales. And I've said this one time, I've said it 100. It's not what you say, but how you say it. And that comes with both your nonverbal and your movements, as well as your tonality and the spoken cues that you're giving to your prospect. And on the flip side, you should also be looking at that nonverbal communication from your prospect to see what is really intriguing to them, but what's also maybe turning them off when you're going through your presentation. So this is going to be a game changer for you if you haven't really dove into body language and nonverbal communication before. But of course, you can't change something if you're not aware of it. And that's where most salespeople struggle because they're not aware necessarily of how they're coming across in a sales presentation unless they are recorded. And that's either on Zoom, it's in person, or even on the phone. All of that has those nonverbal cues that are so important in making those sales. So you have to be able to observe yourself to be able to make those changes to be more successful. So if you're not recording yourself, you got to do it. I know it's uncomfortable for some people, but you have to do it so that you can improve your sales. So let's dive into these tips and tricks to help you improve. There are four main nonverbal communication cues that you need to be looking for when you are looking at your own sales presentations that can either increase sales or decrease sales. It can either enhance the sales process or take away from the sales process. So you really need to look at these four things. The very first is eye contact. It has to be sincere and engaging. Posture. Are you just sitting back, super relaxed and just like, yeah, or are you crossed and closed off? And also on the other side, is your prospect doing some of these things as well? Gestures are really important for emphasizing points. But if you're doing it too much, it can get really distracting. Are you distracted right now? And then, of course, your facial expressions. If you have a resting bee face, you got to get rid of it. You have to practice smiling and doing everything that you need to do to have a resting awesome face. And so it makes you more welcoming and more approachable. And when you're more approachable and more open, people are going to trust you more and want to buy from you. Make sure you are reviewing these four things when you're looking back at your sales calls and see what you can improve on. So here are three things that you have to avoid when it comes to body language and nonverbal communication that can inadvertently sabotage your sales efforts. You have to be able to recognize this when it happens and then improve your body language signals over time. So these three things are having a closed off posture, being, defensive or disinterested. Fidgeting is a big thing that I just absolutely hate. Like, especially salespeople who bite their nails a lot and it's so distracting. And it shows that you're not confident, it shows nervousness. And then inconsistent gestures, like if arms are flailing all over the place and I have to be careful, I might knock something over on my desk. You want to make sure that your gestures are consistent with what you're talking about, that they are impacting the sales and not distracting from it as well. By maintaining an open and welcoming posture, it conveys confidence and approachability. When you're not fidgeting or biting your nails, you appear composed and focused in that interaction. And when you have those gestures that are right on point, just like that, right on point, like how I did that, then it really is going to help you improve your sales. Your facial expressions can really tell a lot about what you're thinking and perhaps create some misunderstanding or distrust. And I don't know, anything like this. I'm exaggerating, of course, but that facial expression is so important. It's one of the easiest things actually that you can fix. And the first thing is just make sure that you're smiling. You convey warmth and approachability. When you're walking down the street and you smile at a stranger on the street that's passing by, they're going to smile back at you. It's pretty contagious. And also on the side of the prospect, you want to be watching for some of these subtle clues of interest, like raised eyebrows. Oh, that's of interest. Now you know what that prospect might be interested in, and you can double down on that part of your sales process. And then the other thing that you have to be careful of is that neutral expression, where it's kind of like blasé or a lump on a log, as my mom says. You want to show interest, and having that neutral expression oftentimes shows disinterest. So those are very simple things that you can change with your facial expression to really enhance your sales, show more empathy, and maintaining a calm and attentive demeanor throughout the entire sales conversation. Now, if you do a lot of just phone consultations and no visual part of that, then you're going to definitely need to get this tip down. And that is the tone of voice. Remember, it's not what you say, but how you say it. And the way that you modulate your tone of voice can be very effective in communication. So pitch variations, it indicates emotional engagement. If you're really serious, you want to bring that pitch down. If you're really excited, you'll want to take that up higher. Volume is also very important. You don't want to yell at somebody, but you also don't want to be like super quiet, that then you're not confident about what you're talking about. And then pace of speech. You want to make sure that you are being clear, but also have a sense of urgency. So playing around with the pace of speech, slowing some things down, and then speeding other things up can really make it more engaging. See what I did there? Your tone should convey enthusiasm and confidence. A warm and confident tone can help you make your pitch a lot more compelling and interesting. One of my big pet peeves is people who don't make adequate eye contact with me when I'm talking to them. They're kind of dancing around, they're kind of just like their eyes are dancing around or finding something, a lot more interesting than the person in front of you. It's so distracting. And you want to make sure that you're not doing it, but you also want to look for those cues in your prospect as well to see if maybe you're talking too much during your presentation and they're getting a little bored. And so their eyes are going off a little bit and you're like, oh, I need to bring it back in. So you definitely want to make sure that your eye contact is consistent, but you're also looking at the eye contact of the other person. Now, direct eye contact is great, but you don't want to do the death stare either. Sometimes you may want to just look off a little bit, which shows thoughtfulness, and then come back to that person when it's appropriate. The other thing that's really distracting is just that shiftiness. Like you're going all around, you're kind of like looking at different things, and you're just not paying attention. And when you're on a Zoom call, that's very important as well. That if you do need to look at something else, another screen or something like that, that you tell the person, I have something over here on my other screen that I'm looking at, or I'm taking notes right now, so that they know that you're not just looking off at random stuff. Because effective eye contact in sales is a powerful tool. It builds that trust and rapport while also gauging the client's interest. So make sure that you are really observant of your eye contact and the eye contact of your prospect. Now, one of these nonverbal communication things that I really need to work on is gestures, because I really talk with my hands. It's not that bad, actually. And it can be very distracting if you don't have the right gestures to go along with the key points of what you're talking about, because it should actually enhance your communication, not distract from it. So make sure that your gestures are purposeful. They reinforce key points and benefits. You want to make sure that you're not really excessive in that gesturing, or you're just hands in pocket and you're not doing anything, because that can lead to monotony and disengagement. Finding that balance is going to be important by looking at yourself during these sales conversations. So that is my big thing on here, is that you have to record yourself so that you can make improvements with these nonverbal communications as well. If you've gone through any of my sales training, then you know that one of the aspects of a sales script is mirroring. And that is the verbal mirroring back at what the person told you. The beautiful thing about mirroring your prospect is that it puts them at ease. They want to be around people that are like them. And if you're a fast talker and they're a slow talker, that's going to be an immediate conflict. So adjust your speech pattern, get a little bit slower. You match what the prospect is doing. And they won't think that you're mimicking them, and you shouldn't be mimicking them. You're just making that a little bit more comfortable for them. Same with the nonverbal feedback as well. So if they're sitting forward, you might want to sit forward a little bit. If they sit back, you might want to sit back a little bit as well, because that's going to put them at ease. And they're going to say, oh, this person is just like me. They're doing a lot of the same things that I do. I like them. And it's not going to be like, oh, they're mirroring me. I've never had somebody say to me during a sales call, I think you're mirroring me. It can be very subtle, but very effective. So make sure that you are incorporating mirroring in that nonverbal communication as well as the verbal mirroring that you do during your sales scripts. And you will be amazed at how that prospect feels more at ease and is going to open up to you. All right, so we've just gone through 7 tips and tricks that you need to be looking at with your nonverbal communication when it comes to your sales consultations. The very first thing is to be aware of what you are doing. Just make sure you're videoing your sales consultations so that you can actually see what you're doing. And by mastering these elements, you can establish a much closer connection to your prospects and really enhance your sales pitch. Now, here's the moment you've been waiting for, the key strategies to enhance your nonverbal communication for sales success. Remember, eye contact is really important to show attentiveness and interest. Use open gestures to appear approachable and engaging. Pay attention to your tone of voice to convey enthusiasm and professionalism. Now, these simple and effective tips can make a huge difference in your sales interactions. And by mastering these, it's not just a nice to have skill, it's a must have skill for all sales professionals. And by understanding and implementing the principles, then you can make stronger connections with your clients and ultimately drive more sales. And remember what I said before, it's not about what you say, but how you say it. Now, put these into action. I challenge you to put these tips into practice at your next sales pitch, or at least be aware of what you're doing. Get that video out and look at yourself during your sales presentations. And one of the best things that you can do is make sure that you have a good script. These nonverbal communication skills don't really matter unless you have a really good sales script. And I put together a very special training that I'd love for you to go through. It's free, and I go over the only 4 questions that you need to ask during a sales consultation to get that prospect to yes. Now, the link is down below. Check it out. Let me know how it works for you. I'd love to hear from you.